Okay, we are now on chapter 12 of conceptual physics, and we're going to talk about solids. Um, so the in this lecture, we're going to talk about crystal structure, density, elasticity, tension and compression, arches, and scaling. We'll start with the crystalline structure. What you have here, you have an X-ray, and this is a collimator, and it's going through sodium chloride, common table salt. And as the X-ray passes through the table salt, it gives a pattern, and the pattern was uh, gave scientists the understanding that sodium chloride is a crystal and it has a crystalline structure where you have a sodium and a chlorine and sodium and chlorine in a very regular pattern, and it exposed the Bragg was the one that came up with the formulas to figure out the crystalline structure. So, let me dismiss my image. Atoms in a crystal are arranged in a regular array. If you shine an X-ray beam on a solid and it produces an X-ray diffraction pattern, this is evidence of the crystalline nature of the solid. Well, don't all solids produce a diffraction pattern? No. Some of them are called amorphous. Solids that do not have atoms arranged in a regular pattern in a regular array are called amorphous solids. Rubber, glass. They're amorphous. They don't have a regular crystalline structure. This is the crystalline structure of a diamond. It's illustrated with sticks representing the covalent bonds responsible for its extreme hardness. A covalent bond is where the atoms share a valence electron, and it makes a bond. Here we have an ionic bond. The cubic crystalline structure of common salt is seen through a microscope. The cubic shape is a consequence of the cubic arrangement of sodium and chloride ions. Sodium very easily gives up an electron. It becomes positive. As you can see, the sodium is positive, and chlorine accepts, it has 7 valence electrons, so it very easily accepts another electron to complete the 8 valence electrons in its outer shell. And so it becomes negative because it has an extra electron. It becomes negative. And so that the positive sodium and the negative chlorine attract each other and they become sodium chloride. It makes this very regular shape. The following kinds of bonds can exist between atoms in a solid: ionic bonds, covalent bonds, metallic bonds, and van der Waals are the weakest. Van der Waals it's why geckos can walk on glass. Metallic is they end up with a lot of free electrons. That's why metals are very good conductors of electricity, because it has a lot of free electrons in its structure. The properties of a solid are dependent upon the kind of bonds that exist between the atoms. Again, like the fact that metals are very good conductors. Okay, density. We're going to move on to density. Density is the amount of mass per unit volume of material. So density equals mass times volume. So you can say, well, what's heavier, a kilogram of gold or a kilogram of feathers? Well, their mass is the same. If you have a kilogram, you have a kilogram, whether it's feathers or mass. But which one do you think would have more volume? Well, it's going to take a whole lot more feathers to make a kilogram, so they are less dense. If they're both 1 kilogram, but it takes a whole lot more feathers, then you increase the volume. If you increase the volume, the density goes down. So a kilogram, or feathers in general, are less dense. The unit of density is kilograms per cubic meter or gram per cubic centimeter. So the density of water is 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter or 1 gram per cubic centimeter. Okay, let's see. Density may also be expressed as the weight density, the weight over the volume. The unit of weight density is newtons per cubic meter. So the weight density is 9.8 meters per second squared times density, and you'll get the weight density. I don't remember using weight density much. It's always just density. Density depends upon the mass of the atoms in a material and the spacing between atoms in the material. Density is an intrinsic property of a material, independent of the quantity of material and independent of gravity. Now, we can take something like you have a glass of iced tea. The ice is going to float at the top because when liquid is these kind of randomly moving H2O molecules, whereas when it forms ice, it forms a crystalline structure that takes up more space than water, and so you have the same mass, but a larger volume. It decreases the density, and so we have. That's why when you have a frozen pond, the ice forms on the top layer and protects all the aquatic life underneath. Okay, and that's the end of part one. We'll end here.